It's Lulz. It's the Take Cast. It's a crossover episode, I believe. Davis Maddox, first time on Lulz, if I'm correct. We're going to talk about Elon purchasing Twitter. We're going to talk about all the craziness going on in the poker world, frog poison, Bryn Kenney scandals, all the good stuff today on Lulz.
Does he think? I think he thinks this. He thinks this is a go. Vegas Dave thinks this is a go.
Hot naked girls doing yoga.
What?
Why don't you just win like a man?
Random.org. Type in 1 for yes, 2 for no, and let the DFS gods pick for you.
And I'm absolutely begging you not to dupe us. Please don't dupe us. Oh, there's Brian. Brian was dropping up right as we went live. Welcome to Lulz. Brian, are you good?
I think so. We got some technical difficulties over here, so you guys might have to carry me.
There you go. Yeah. Are you at the lake house? Is that what the...
No, I'm at my place.
Okay.
Nothing.
Beware poker players, loose women, and bad audio connections.
How are you gonna sim, tonight's Major League Baseball slate if you can't get your internet connection figured out?
That's all local. All I need is download, upload. It takes 2 seconds.
Okay, good to know. How are you enjoying the baseball streets? How does a data nerd such as yourself respond to the conditions of the baseball being different and starting pitcher durations being effectively random?
That was pretty interesting. At the beginning of the year, I meant to tweet out and forgot. It was like, so baseball pitchers only pitch like 50 pitches now in a game. When did that happen?
Some of them still are.
I think baseball is like the best DFS sport, or one of them.
I agree. Other than soccer, I think.
Soccer's fun. It's just hard to model, link all those names up.
You gotta have your toes in the cleats. You dead ass are drawing dead in soccer if you don't watch the games, I think. Which I think is fun.
I didn't put a ton of effort into it.
How are you defining, because we've talked about best sweats for DFS. What goes into you ranking MLB as the best DFS sport?
Me or him?
Yeah. You.
Me. I think it's you can get a big edge in it still.
Yeah.
That's number one. You play all the time. Like there's a slate going right now. Slate tonight.
It's like 3 slates a day.
Yeah. Like if you really want to grind, you can play a whole bunch of slates. I mean, those are the main reasons. It's easy. It's easy as in compared to NBA because there's very rarely a late scratch. You don't need to guess.
Yeah, I bet you spend 2 hours a day, cumulatively, if you were maxing this stuff.
Probably 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably spend about 20 minutes. I look at ownership projections. I type in the club MGMI chat and I say, all right, whatever some of those guys are playing is going to be the most chalky team. So then you just don't play that team. I mean, my process is pretty much as simple as figuring out the 2 most owned teams, not playing any hitters from those teams, and then trying to figure out if there's any reason to play a starting pitcher against them. Like, can I possibly play a starting pitcher against the chalky offenses? That's like column 1 and column 2 of my process.
I mean, it's kind of funny. You came to what my Sims have been telling me the entire beginning of the year. Basically, that strategy. It's super contrarian. A lot of fading the stud pitchers until recently here. It's like now that the pitchers are going deeper into the games, you want them more often than not. Especially because I'm playing like the $88 and the $66 single entry. Most slates is kind of what I'm building for, which is like very similar to like NFL DFS building for the SPY or whatever. So like optimizing for 80th percentile outcomes instead of 99th percentile outcomes. But I agree. I think it's the sport that has where people know not to play the chalk, but they still do it anyways. They can't help themselves. And there's really no reason to play the chalk in baseball because the randoms are so like, it's not like fading Samaj P. Ryan is the only Cincinnati Bengals running back for 4,600. Like there is no equivalent of that in baseball. Right. It's closer to like we've talked about this on 2 pods ago with golf injuries. Like if your golfer's like he's like kind of beat up, Like, there's no reason you have to play him. There's no backup running back, backup point guard where it's just like you can't fade him. It's golf. I would say though, just in case people are getting a little jumpy, like if you're fading chalk all the time, that's wrong. I mean, sometimes I am over chalk, and sometimes I'm under. Usually under baseball.
We got a great example of that literally 24 hours ago, where one starting pitcher was projected like 8 points higher than every other starting pitcher, and there was really not a reason not to play him, even if you were entering I don't know what DK normally calls the big $20, but whatever. Even if you were doing 150 teams, you'd want to be over on him. It's what you always say, right? It's like you got to be dynamic on these slates. Yeah.
I'm just picturing someone tuning in and just going, oh, so they say fade everything, and then they put in 9.01% owned guys, lose all their money, and then tweet at us.
And they're like, yeah, you guys don't know shit.
That's the NFT influencers can pump and dump. This is what DFS influencers could do. They say, play no good plays in my contests. And then
play only the bad plays. Yeah, if you are entering in the same Major League Baseball single entry contest as me, just like the $5,000 pitchers who project for like 2 strikeouts, those are the good plays.
FF Doom asking in the chat. Yeah, we've talked about this the past couple of unless something changed, Brian is not in the USFL streets. I even find my interest dwindling a little bit, and I'm pretty sure, Davis, it hasn't caught your attention either.
No, it
sounds like I got lucky again last week, right? With the projections were god awful again.
Well, I think the projections are just always going to be bad. I think it's a sport that does not, unless you were like messaging with assistant coaches on these teams. I think it seems like the USFL is like maybe even a more extreme example of Major League Baseball, where it's pretty much as simple as paying for the Establish the Run subscription, looking at their top plays and just playing none of them, and just hoping to run into the right stack.
It's tough. I heard that similar strategy, and I'm like, it doesn't like if you go to an optimizer and put in a ownership cap of something crazy low or something like that, like that's not guaranteeing you're going to get to these other guys, because if their number 1 projected guy was way off, what does that make you think their number 2 or 3 guy has any relevance here? You're just completely gambling, which is fine. I mean, if you want to sweat.
It's almost like kind of the MMA thing, right? Where it's so binary, where it's like if you win, it's like if one of these wide receivers crushes, like, or if your projection is off on one guy, it could almost just be flipped. Like you could just be off by like 25% target share in one direction or the other, where it's like, I don't even know how you account for that fully.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's like too random, because what if that target share is actually the 4th wide receiver? They just have no idea. In MMA, like, it's the other guy who's getting points because he just
it's more,
it's like guaranteed.
Brian, have you made any? Are you in the NFL draft prop bet streets at all?
No. I see everyone's tweeting about it, and it's supposed to be pretty. What are the max limits on those?
Depends on your book. It's going to be pretty low. There was 2 stories this last week. David Purdom did one, and ESPN ran one. I forget. Ben something, I think maybe is their lead gambling guy, but they both had stories that came out with like risk management guys from FanDuel was one of them, and I think Caesars was the other, where basically the guys were like, we know we're going to get beat up on this. Like, we can't, these markets are impossible for us to win, so we keep the limits kind of low. And the subtext of that was they didn't say the quiet part out loud, was this is a customer acquisition tool. Like, now someone like Anthony Miko, who is price shot, like it doesn't work that way on him. But I mean, honestly, someone like me who kind of knows what's going on, but is not line shopping that hard and mostly just betting worse numbers of the better bets. Like, maybe the bet is still good, but the number is worse than what most people are getting. It's theoretically, it's a kind of a customer acquisition tool where, like, maybe I ship, maybe I win 7 of my 14 wagers, but some of them are plus money. And then I'm donking that back off on, no run first inning bets the next day. And the ship keeps moving.
It would be nice if they had, similar to, DraftKings had the big March Madness contest that I couldn't even participate in, but it would be sick if there was some really big prize pools for draft contests and you were
Yeah.
rewarded. Obviously, there'd be points nailing the specific pick, nailing the players. If you get both the player and the specific pick right, like there's a multiplier. And then there could actually be some game theory to that. There'd be chalk, condensing. There could actually be like some fun strategy around that, where partly because I can't bet in Massachusetts, I just the sports betting, prop betting for the draft just doesn't fully capture my attention.
Yeah, it's fine, but if you're don't have access to legal books where you can line shop, like if you live in New Jersey or whatever, and you can shop DraftKings and Caesars and BetMGM and PointsBet, and oh, this price is off by 50 cents, and like there's an ARB spot here, and this book changed this book, but like if you only have access to offshores or if you're sending money to a friend to legally bet for you, which I have done, it's still fun and it makes watching the draft a lot better, but it's less of a profitable endeavor. I mean, basically what Cody Main and these guys are, I mean, I don't really think they can lose. They would have to get something so wrong that a quarterback going 1 or the Jaguars trading their pick or something to not make money on these bets, basically.
But then the calculation, I think this is kind of what Brian was hinting at, is how much are you able to get down and what kind of time investment is this requiring to process all this news, do all the line shopping?
A lot of time.
If you're capping out at even $50 or $100 a bet, I mean, your ROI has to be pretty good, I think, to start justifying that time commitment.
But also, some people enjoy it, right? Some people just really like it. And there's always the expected value of like Twitter clout. Like that's a big thing. Like, and you can kind of laugh at that, but Ryan Noonan for 4for4 and BetSperts, like Amico does it. I mean, just there is value in just being known as the guy who like crushes the props. Like that is plus expected value for them.
Well, do you guys feel it? I feel like we're in this era. You jog my memory by saying like the Twitter clout with prop betting, where I could be totally off, but it feels like prop betting content is everyone having been told prop betting and sports betting is the next big thing. You need to do props and sports betting content, where like there's 100%. Something about it that feels vaguely disingenuous, where it's like everyone is just going through the motions to put out this content because they've been told there's a demand for it. And yet we still haven't quite figured out the best way to do sports betting content.
Yes. I mean, I tweet out bets. I tweet out bets that I'm making all the time, but I was making these same bets 10 years ago when I was a dickhead in college who didn't know any better, and I wasn't tweeting about it because no one cared. But now people care. Like if I'm betting a random women's tennis match, I'll probably tweet it out. But you're right, though. But I only do it because I work for a company that does sports betting content, and I've been told that 100 times. Like, you got to do sports betting content. It's the future. Yeah, I think you're totally right.
I do think there is the element of, I mean, this is the hard thing for me. Like, so Davis, you tweeted yours out. I want to just have some sweats for tomorrow night. I haven't placed a single bet yet. Like, I'm probably not going to go sift through your screenshot and like try to find those bets on some offshore or whatever. If there was a this is why I like the underdog pick'em slips, because I could just click the link and make the bet. Like if you were able to do a pick'em slip for your bets and I could just click it and be like, I'll just tell Davis he's done a little bit of work on this or likes these. Like I would do that just to have a fun sweat. But it's not even line shopping. It's like, I don't want to go individually look for those bets that you should.
I don't want to get onto my book, Command F for George Pickens, make sure it's the right wager, make sure I click the right button. Right. I've done this before in NFL draft betting. I really shouldn't even admit this, but I just was like not thinking, and I bet under on a pick. And I meant to bet over, thinking the wrong thing, because it is like a little confusing. Like you could. Like, you know what I mean? But like the NFL draft, it's like so in the weeds, Pete. It's like you don't need to do it. Like you don't need to be doing this.
I can give an example of where I would have done it. I went to the draft when I was here in Chicago, and after the Bears picked, I was like, I went with my brother. I'm like, do you want to go? It's kind of boring. Like, I mean, how many picks do you sit there? I mean, some people love that shit, but like, we got the tickets for free, someone gave them to us. But if I had, a G on every pick, I probably would have stuck around for the sweat.
The
Yeah.
draft is in Kansas City next year. I'll be
Is
one
it?
of those nerds who is there, who's like, really excited when some edge rusher at 24 goes to, and I'm like, I'll be that guy.
You gotta
Yeah.
do if you're going.
Maybe that'll be my rain check, Davis. I can't make your bachelor party. Maybe I come out for Kansas City draft next year. That would be fun.
Think of the content. I bet we could get Patrick to come.
Yeah, well, it was funny too because that jogged my memory. The one time I've been to the NFL draft was when it was in Philly, and I went with Corain, and I was shooting man's bits, and Corain was helping me film those. And it was like the draft itself is boring, but just like the atmosphere, everybody's drinking, everyone's booing. You're waiting for the Eagles pick, so everybody can be mad. Like it's a fun time.
Who was the Eagles? Was it Rager?
I think so. This was the Corey Davis year because that was when Pat yelled on the road of his stream, "Remember when Corey Davis went 4th overall?" So whatever player they took that year.
With the briefly on the like content side for sports betting, it's kind of like you're kind of like stuck in between two worlds. Like one is you're just doing it for free, right? Like degenning. Hey, this doesn't have an edge. This is what I'm betting. Take it for what it's worth. Or somehow you have an edge. And even if you get that edge to them before the line moves, like a lot of times those are like smaller markets and things the book really doesn't want you betting like over and over and over again. So like you could get like your whatever customer banned if he's just if you're just constantly feeding him, like this second half, +8 line should be -500. It's minus whatever. It's like, why are you betting these random things every fucking time? You never bet a side or a total.
This is happening. This is happening to people in the content providing space where they have to coordinate the picks in like their Discords or whatever. They can't just post it as an article anymore because it gets immediately slashed. These prop betting Discords, which like I can't even believe that this is a thing that exists in 2022, but it's like their customers are getting limited and the accounts that are making the wager in the first place. So like, tout X goes to go make the wager. And if they make that wager before they publish it in the Discord, the number's already gone.
Yeah.
Because, like Joel Embiid under 11.5 rebounds or whatever. And if account X bets it, it's gone before they could even tell anyone to bet it.
You have to be able to bet size and totals, because that's like Right Angle Sports does the same thing that you're talking about, where you get in their Discord or whatever, and then they do the same thing. Okay, everyone go to this game. Okay, this side, this total over, and then they all bet at the same time. But like at least you won't get limited quickly betting size and totals, where betting these more like smaller markets. I mean, if that's all you're betting.
I mean, I'll never be limited because I bet like a recreational sports bettor. So this is not even something that I have to be concerned about. I mean, maybe, supposedly mobile sports betting is going to be legal in Missouri somewhat soon. They're meeting on it. They're talking about it right now. And maybe I would have to deal with, because, if I'm going to put $1,000 out on 5 different sites or whatever, so I can line shop and get the best lines at all times, then I would have to be a little bit more conservative, because I don't want to just be blowing whatever. But like right now I have like one account, and that account does not get, well, that's actually not true. Even my account got limited. They only let me bet Shohei Ohtani to win AL MVP 5 times last year. And then they shut me down. They said that was, I bet it for whatever the house max was 5 times. And then they were like, nope, no more. You can't.
I almost feel like the Discord Slack groups for sports betting are completely fundamentally flawed. And part of the game, you could listen. I always have the podcast for all Bob did with Spanky in my head, the extents that they went to hide their bests, to have their beards, all of, staggering when they were like, that is, for better or worse, part of the game for sports betting. And that doesn't exist in these channels, right? Like you put out the call and everyone rushes, and the data I assume these books have is so good that they know this is this group of bettors betting at the same time. It makes it easy to flag. Like, aren't those groups going to have to evolve, find ways to stagger and mask their bets?
So this is where I think you get the difference, though, is the type of person who is betting props that are getting posted in a Discord. Maybe they absolutely smash on those, but that's the type of person who's like, oh, I'm going to the White Sox game, $500, White Sox money line. Like, I think that those accounts don't necessarily have to be like, I think those are actually probably good value for the sports books to have. Like, I don't think the sports books care that much if they're getting beat up by, site X's tout on tennis player props, because the people who are subscribing to those props are giving it back on sides and totals.
I think the Canby books care about everything. From what I've been limited by them on Bet Rivers, and I don't know who else they do in America still, but they're penny pinchers. They're like known penny pinchers. So I see what you're saying, but they also too, Davis, is they'll limit you on props and let you bet $1 million on sides and totals.
On sides and totals.
So they could have the best of both worlds. I don't know. I would love some sort of crypto solution here where like you're buying people's accounts and stuff like that, but you don't have to do the whole
Bitcoin.
thing.
Hey, Bitcoin fixes this, bro.
It does. It does.
No, it doesn't. This is an example. Pierre Rochard is somewhere his ears are burning because someone's making fun of the idea that Bitcoin fixes everything.
Speaking of fixing everything, Elon Musk's Twitter purchase goes through. I personally didn't think it was going to happen.
It hasn't. It has not gone through. That's a clear part of the misreporting. It doesn't go through until October. There's $1 billion penalty on both sides if it doesn't go through. But some people are thinking it still might not go through, and that Elon Musk will not be the sole proprietor of Twitter.com.
Well, for the purposes of this conversation, let's work under the assumption that it goes through, and even the fact that it got to the point it's at now seems unbelievable. Davis, I thought you were going to be making your resignation from Twitter live on this show today. Is there anything you want to tell the world now that Elon is the CEO?
The thing about Elon is he is like an idiot. Like, he's just a stupid person who you would not really want to spend any time with. Like, Elon would be one of the worst people on earth to have a beer with. But the fact that there is, a faction of weird nerds on the internet who are dedicated to celebrating everything that he does, basically means that I think this will probably be viewed as a success, because something that Elon does do is he delivers no product, but he does make the number go up. And in our society, nothing is more important than making number go up. And I think he probably will find a way to make Twitter number go up. And, I guess good for him. Anyone who has spent any time on unmoderated internet forums, though, knows that it's a nightmare and knows that they don't want Twitter to be that, basically.
What does number go up have to do with a private company, though? Because he's pulling it off. It won't be on the stock market, right?
I guess that's true. I don't know. I don't really get what his deal is with this, other than Elon seems to me to be the most desperate person on earth to have people like him. And I think he thinks that this will make people like him to be the sole proprietor of Twitter.
It's a pretty charitable take, Davis.
I mean, Elon's a loser, right? Like, can we just agree?
How is he a loser? He's the most successful man on the planet.
Is he? I mean, I guess he's like either him or Bezos is the richest man on earth. So I mean, good for him. I can't really imagine someone I would less rather spend time with.
I mean, it is from the Bezos playbook itself, right? Bezos bought the Washington Post. Like, there's a fascination with these guys to be able to control media outlets. Yeah. I mean, where are you guys at? Like, on the potential spectrum, I'm thinking of what's the things where it's like chaotic evil, chaotic neutral, lawful neutral. Like, where on that spectrum do you think Elon will fall? Because a lot of the people are like, he's already publicly adding Donald Trump. Like, does he want to create this kind of thing where he gets everybody back? Like, how chaotic, how evil do you think he could get with this?
I mean, not that evil, really. I mean, not the other thing about Elon is that he's likely does not have any more like horrible political opinions than the rich people who already were running Twitter and whatnot. And the one thing that I think you could view as the most like dystopian, Big Brotherish is the idea that he wants to KYC everyone who runs a Twitter account, and the richest man on earth, knowing where you live, knowing your date of birth, knowing your banking information, maybe knowing your Bitcoin wallet, right? A lot of people have linked up their financial institutions to Twitter. That seems not great, maybe, but in the end, he probably doesn't change the platform much. Like he's gonna, yeah.
I love it when Davis and Tommy G have the same take. Yeah, it makes me feel good. You just forgot the biometric data too.
What was Tommy's take?
That right there, the
Were
worst
you listening
take.
to the podcast?
I listened to the podcast. I saw one of his tweets, but I'm gonna listen to that.
No, you're not. You value your
Brian
time more
listen.
than that.
No, Brian loves it.
I try to, but like I want to just hear about the lizard people and stuff like that, and there's not a ton of that anymore. So I kind of like fast forward to the good stuff. But yeah, that's what he's buying this for, to attract people. I
don't think that's why he's buying it, for the record.
No, I know you. That was, you were saying worst case scenario. I think it's not going to be a ton different.
No.
I don't think like the real problems that Twitter has with like, things involving children and stuff like that, and real death threats and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to change very much. It honestly might go, if he actually does implement some sort of free speech policies, it could theoretically go up. These are trade-offs for these type of things. That, not that they're good, but I think that's probably the worst case scenario. I think the main thing is it's so political is because it was mainly a like an establishment stronghold. They kind of captured it with the people running there or the lawyers there or something. It sounds like they had like former FBI lawyers now on their team as lawyers, and they were taking notes from the Biden administration on like who the bad accounts are, and that's like public. Like I think Jen Psaki said that. So I think they're pissed off that they won't have this vehicle anymore. I think that's what all the hubbub is, and then a bunch of brainwashed people who are like think it's the end of the world are closing off their Twitter accounts. I really doubt it's going to change that much. I mean, I imagine, he doesn't deliver things, but I know a lot of people who have multiple Teslas, right, Davis? Like, he does deliver somewhat, and I could see like he would.
Yeah, multiple Teslas that he can't figure out how to not stop catching on fire. I mean, like, Brian, be honest. He sucks. Dude, he sucks.
No, I like him. I love him.
No, you don't. You don't.
I do now.
I mean, it is a great troll move. Like, don't get me wrong. I love a good troll. No one appreciates a good troll move more than me. But like, and like, people credit him with like inventing PayPal and stuff. It's like this guy has become so mythologized, and you could make the argument that he has just run hotter than anyone in the history of the planet with some of the ways that
he's played the game well too.
He has. I'm not saying the guy doesn't. I mean, no one deserves the amount of money that he has, right? Like, it's just immoral that one human being could have that much wealth, but he has done a good job accumulating wealth.
And also, if this was 2015, you'd probably be all over the guy's ball sack like every other liberal was back then, and all of a sudden it's changed.
Don't put me in line with these limousine liberals with the blue checks, buddy.
No, he's big on solar.
Blue check, Davis.
Solar and EV wasn't as popular back then, and also you can get a Starlink setup. I looked at it. It's pricey, but you can get them. They are working.
So I think this is part of me being bit pilled, and I kind of forget what the truth is. But like, the Bitcoin people they actually hate electric vehicles, right? They're like, this is actually a huge waste of resources and whatnot. And so it's kind of a place where I don't know who to be brainwashed by. So like in theory, I like the idea of not being dependent on fossil fuels and doing that stuff. But I actually no longer know if electric vehicles are good or bad.
But my point being, anyways, is that I do think he's going to add some cooler features. It seems like Twitter hasn't done shit at all. And like we talked about last week.
The fucking hexagons, bro. What are you talking about?
Davis, whenever you see that whatever $4.99 a month come out of your account, do you ever wonder and kind of question your decisions?
No, because I use the undo tweet feature every day.
Really?
Because I'm always doing something. Like I'm always on my phone, and so I misspell shit all the time. Or honestly, it's already paid for itself. I've like sent out like 16 tweets to Hermsmeyer, and before it even goes, I can just undo it. I can just be like, you know what? I'm not engaging. I'm not engaging with Hermsmeyer today. Like he had some awful NFT tweet yesterday, and I had some pithy response, and I was like, you know what? Nah, not doing it today. The $2.99 pays for itself.
I didn't know that comes with it. I take it back. That's amazing.
So that's the greatest selling point for Twitter Blue is you get the cathartic release of firing off the tweet without the implications of it existing on the chain forever because you can just undo it.
Yeah, like no one ever sees it. It's like a 10-second window basically where you're looking at the tweet and you can decide if you want to send it or not. And I'm like, Josh, you're fucking stupid. Bitcoin is awesome. Send. No, I don't want to send it. I unsend.
Well, that is the question. I do agree that he'll, at the start, probably be pretty jazzed up to try to put some of his ideas for features into play. The question is, how quickly does he get bored with this and go back to like building flamethrowers and rockets to Mars?
Isn't that the thing? Is like he gets excited about a new idea for like 8 days and then moves on and does nothing with it. Like remember when he was tweeting about the block size of the Doge blockchain and how it's going to refine it. It's like I don't know if he's stupid or if he doesn't care or if he just tweets too much. Like maybe
he's a
all
troll.
three.
He enjoys the attention of being a troll. He's not stupid.
I think he can get a lot of what he wants out of Twitter just by being owner and then putting in people he likes.
Yeah.
And then he don't have to do anything. He'll be like, wait, who did they ban? He's like, fuck that. No, bring it back. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to really do. I doubt like he's going to be in there coding an edit button. You know what I mean?
Does he even know how?
He'll just say, put an edit button, and then it'll.
Well, here's the thing: wanting an edit button is the most smooth brain thing of all time because it can't work. It can't work, right? So if you're one of those people that's like, give us a goddamn edit button, think of how the functionality of that would work, where it'd be like someone tweets, puppies are the best, 10,000 retweets, 40,000 faves, and then they edit it to say, fuck Joe Biden or whatever, right? So then that doesn't work. You can't have that. And then the other functionality of how it would work it would just delete the tweet, right? Because you'd have to undo all the retweets and all the faves, and then it would be the same thing as a deleted tweet. So the edit button can't work. It does.
You can have an edit on a delay, like you get 5 seconds to edit.
That's Twitter Blue. That already exists.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They already. All right.
But
I guess.
either way, I don't care. The edit's just an example. I'm just saying. I don't care. Like I'm saying, like he can. I could see him implementing some things, and even if he doesn't, I think just getting in people he likes will accomplish 90% of what he wanted, anyways.
I also think for him too, it's just like he clearly has opinions on free speech and some of these bigger macro issues. And now he's not going to just be the Tesla guy has these thoughts on it. It's the CEO of Twitter has free speech thoughts. Like that gives, whether we agree or not, it gives his opinions a perceived sense of gravitas more than it did before. Like he's going to like having that seat at the table in bigger media conversations.
And the charitable opinion on this, the opposite of Davis's, is that's what he's doing. He just really does believe in free speech.
Do you believe that do you believe that with even 1% of your brain?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Oh,
I do.
Brian! It's a big club and we ain't fucking in it. He does not give a shit about free speech.
I know I'm not in it. I think and it depends on your definition and what he's exactly going to implement and things like that. But I think it is important to him. If I had to bet.
Okay, I have a question for you. I have a question for Brian.
Go ahead.
Free speech is obviously important, but why do the worst people on earth care about free speech? Why are all free speech advocates? Why do they suck so bad? Like, what is that deal with that?
Because they use it against you. They use it.
I mean, I don't care. I don't care.
Well, I'm not saying you should care. I'm telling you that's why.
I like free. Like, I think that, like the January 6th type of people, like, I think those people should be allowed to. I mean, I think all of them should be in jail for, actually trying an insurrection, but I think they should be allowed to tweet whatever they want, basically. I think political demonstration, all that stuff is important. But
why would you not want to have a public ledger of them communicating and telling us their plans?
Sure. Yeah.
Forget January 6th, just like real bad people. Like, why would you not want to have all their plans out there public? Like, oh, look at these idiots colluding.
Yeah.
But that I'm telling you, it's the same reason all these guys who are saying they're going to leave Twitter now that Elon bought it. 6 months ago they were saying it's a private business, bro. It doesn't matter if they kick off.
Yeah, it's like, and I've fallen victim to that too. Yeah. Like, it's a private company, bro. And it's like, really, at the end of the day, I think it's just very important for everyone to admit everyone's a hypocrite, and all you care about is the people you like getting able to do whatever they want to do, and the people you don't like being shut down. That's all I care about. Love Donald Trump getting thrown off of Twitter. Love that. But if Navalny got kicked off of Twitter, I'd be like, this is unjust, bro.
Pretty germane to this conversation. Elon tweet from just a few minutes ago: for Twitter to deserve public trust, it must be politically neutral, which effectively means upsetting the far right and the far left equally. I mean, now he's tweeting like a true politician right there.
Oh man, worst timeline. Elon. I guess he can't be president because he was born in South Africa.
Well, that actually brings up an interesting dynamic with the whole thing with Trump, right? Where I think he already did a tweet being like, you should come back, and like, is he going to make a bigger push for that? I mean, if Trump really is pushing his network, what's it called, Truth or whatever?
Truth Social. Brian's a big Truth Social guy.
Is there a scenario here where like Musk and Trump clash in a big way? Because I mean, just from both like a political standpoint and being business competitors, there's some interesting showdowns in certain timelines.
I went that morning when Elon made his first bid, and I sold a put on the Truth Social SPAC, and I didn't get it. Like, you have to put it in before the market opens. It dropped like 20% that one day. So I don't know what it's down now, but it's a lot. So it's cost them a shit ton.
Truth Social?
Yeah. The SPAC it's sold under. I can't remember what it is.
I mean, it was never going to be successful regardless.
No, he made billions off it, Trump.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, the game is so rigged. Like, the game is so rigged. I hate this. I hate everything about this so much. Like, it's just...
Well, take satisfaction in this. You know that the dopamine hits that Trump is getting over on Truth are just pale into comparison to the dopamine hits he was getting on Twitter.
That's true. The guy can't do it. It does. I mean, it doesn't really matter how dystopian and awful Twitter gets. Like, I don't think I would ever be able to not be on it.
He'll be back. He says he's not coming back, but he's coming back.
Oh, he needs it too much. That's why I'm saying, like, he would pay so much to just come back and be able to have that attention.
Where do you, Brian? Where do you stand on the idea that some policy wonks or whatever, they actually think that Trump getting back on Twitter is bad for the Republican Party in the midterms and in the 2024 presidential election because people maybe kind of actually forgot how insane he is?
Yeah, well, I had this take a couple weeks ago, and don't think I'm going to change it. I think for 2024, I think if I was a Democrat, I would want him to run. And I think because you have a better shot of beating him than DeSantis.
Yeah, because DeSantis probably beats Biden.
DeSantis, I think, doesn't just beat him handily. Obviously, there's a long time between now and then. There's a long time between the midterms, right? Like no one thought Ukraine was going to happen. Things like that.
I have a conspiracy theory about the midterms that you might like. That the reason that the White Office has been dragging their feet on the student loan debt forgiveness that they said was coming is that they want to do it like 2 weeks before the midterms. Yeah. And
surprise.
Well, and just have some of the people who are in embattled races, right? Where it's close one way or the other. I'm not informed enough right now to know which races would be expected to be close or not, but have them, come to the White House and give their speeches and, do their tweets or whatever.
That's sharp. I bet even if they don't, they'll just they'll introduce it. Even if it doesn't, they don't have no chance of getting passed. They'll do some stuff like that.
Well, buddy, they don't have to pass it. Biden could just sign a piece of paper.
Davis, you're paying your college. Sorry, pal.
No, I'm absolutely not. This has been my take. This has been my take since I signed for student loans the first time. Eventually, the Zoomers are taking over, and it's all going away.
Bitcoin solves this.
The midterm, I've been thinking for a while now that the odds and the polls back me up that Republicans in a landslide. The only little new, everyone, that's kind of like the common take, but I don't know if you saw in France last week or whatever, Le Pen got crushed by Macron. Yeah. And not only that, it was like one of the first kind of what the establishment would call far right candidates, right? They actually polled her higher than she actually showed up, which has been the opposite. You guys know the Nate Silver debacle, the last two. Like, why is he always under? Why is he always under? So that's kind of interesting. I mean, it's France, so it's not like apples to apples here.
Yeah, more of their constituents.
It's a data point, I think.
That's Tony Dunst made that point to me yesterday because I was responding to Timex saying the same thing. Timex was like, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, yeah, I mean, I just think the Republicans are going to smash in 2022. And then someone else made the point to me that they wanted to bet DeSantis Trump over Biden. And I was like, I think you're right. And then Dunn said the same thing, that Le Pen getting beat gave him some hope. And it's easy to forget because we did just see an incumbent lose, but incumbents, it's like I don't think the market is pricing in. Like, incumbents just it's very rare for incumbents to lose presidential elections.
Yeah, it's strange times though.
Like you got to have a global pandemic.
I mean, the most closely related would be 1978, 1980, Jimmy Carter.
Well, here's the thing.
He was an incumbent who lost.
But Carter knew he was going to lose. Carter, he was like, I'm gonna do all this shit that's gonna make life suck, but it's gonna work out in the long run. Like he knew he was gonna lose.
Well,
Biden's not doing shit. He's just
he might know he's gonna lose and just not want to say it. But
yeah,
I mean, the inflation is the same. A lot of gas prices are going up. There's a lot of parallels between late 70s, early 80s to now. What does your shaman think, Pete? Who's going to win?
That's what I was getting. I want to make sure we have a little time to talk about.
Are we limited on time here?
Oh no, I didn't know if you.
Oh no, when Brian and I do these shows, we normally talk for like 2 hours.
Well, maybe 2. I don't want to completely cannibalize your thing. If you guys want to do like a back-to-back without me after this too, that's
no. We're chatting. I think it's good to have your input because your brain is far less frog poisoned than Brian and I's, I think.
we should set the table for people on what went down with this. Brian, has this all happened since our last episode of Lulz, or had this broke before?
It's like Thursday, I think, was the first tweet. So
it's been like 3 days.
So Bryn Kenney, who is a pretty well-known high-stakes poker player,
all-time live winner, I believe. highest total number.
Yeah, and if you've watched any of like the Poker Go high rollers over the past like 4 or 5 years, I mean, he's a mainstay in that, a fixture in all those big games. And Doug Polk did an interview. What was the name of the guy he did the interview with?
Zamani.
Zamani.
That's his
And
last name.
basically airing a bunch of dirty laundry about Bryn Kenney, a bunch of allegations, how he was running his stables, basically like a Ponzi scheme on GG Poker, ghosting, all kinds of levels to this. And I think this came as a big surprise because for a while, it seemed like Bryn Kenney had a decent reputation. Obviously, there were people in the know who kind of knew of some of this shady stuff, but it was a pretty big, pivot for how people thought about Bryn Kenney. And then, of course, we can get into some of the shamans.
$2 million bet on who has a better understanding of life was my previous favorite Bryn Kenney moment on the internet.
Well,
do you remember that one, Brian?
No.
Oh my gosh! So Polk and Kenny are getting into it on Twitter. This was around the Polk Negreanu match or whatever, and Polk is like, "Okay, let's play, Bryn. Any stakes you want, high as you want. Like, let's go." And Bryn's like, "I'm not gonna play you. I'm already so much better than you." Yada yada. He's like, instead of playing, why don't we have a $1 million bet on who has a better understanding of life? Or I bet $1 million I have a better life than you or whatever. And Polk is like, obviously that's stupid and not something that's objective and we can't wager on. And then Bryn comes back and says, all right, $2 million wager on who has a better understanding of life. And that was where it ended.
Now I remember.
That was my last experience with Bryn Kenney until this happened.
This is far more insane, although that was pretty insane.
Yeah, and so part of this Martin Zamani, Brian mentions, listen to Tommy G podcast to get to the lizard people stuff. I mean, if you get far enough in the podcast, you learn that Bryn Kenney was having guys in his stable, including Zamani, go to see shamans. These shamans were asking them to do these like frog poison bloodletting rituals, to take mushrooms and do all kinds of stuff. And basically he painted, aside from all of the like monetary kind of scams he was running, paint him as someone who was like truly wanted to be a cult figure, was kind of the vibe I got out of it.
Yeah, people get in trouble for going to Taco Bell. You have to adhere to a strict diet. There was a psychic that they had to get that checked him out. So a whole bunch of culty side, outside of the poker cheating allegations that it just makes it so juicy for people to dive into.
The tweets where the woman was screenshotting texts with him and he was like, yeah, if you can come up with like 100K, like I can pretty much guarantee you like a 10x on that money. Not sure if you're interested in 10x on your money or whatever, but if you have 100K, let me know. It's just like this guy who is just just so bizarre.
So let me go over the details then, I guess, for the cheating.
Yeah.
So there's ghosting.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know what ghosting is, there's a range of definitions for ghosting. So like if Davis is playing a poker tournament and he's like, Brian, what do you think about this? And I would go all in. Technically that's ghosting, although no one really gives a shit. But the main ghosting is when you actually have to sit down on Davis's account or like try and come in on TeamViewer or something like that and then play their account. That's the ghosting they're accusing him of there. There's a thing called RTA, real-time assistance, which again is very similar, where there's a broad range of what people think RTA is, from just like post-flop charts that you have written out. People consider that RTA. I imagine like Poker Tracker they would consider like an old form of RTA, which I used and pretty much everyone did back when we were playing cards.
I don't actually know. Are there solvers that now work like in real time?
Yeah, there is. There's two types of and so then the ultimate RTA is the solvers in real time. And so and you guys, I haven't played poker in years, but this is my understanding of it is there's one you could put in the cards and then it spits out the what you should do. Right. And there's one that tracks your actual screen and is giving you this real-time information. And so, I think both of them are out there. So that was another thing they were accusing him of. And then with the woman who he wanted to give $100,000 to, I think her name was like Laura Robertson or something like that. Laura Roberts. Yeah. So this is really fucked up thing is he like befriended her to like come play on GG Poker. And then when she sat down, he would have all his horses. We forgot to mention that too, didn't we? But he would have all the people that play for him sit down and play against her, you know, because she apparently wasn't a professional, and he has a whole team of professionals. So they would soft play each other, obviously. And soft playing's been going on since when I first started. And play against her, and they took her for like looks like about $2 million. And then this team play allegation as well, which is what I just described. He would have his guys sit down on the same table and play against each other. I'm sorry, against these people who weren't on the team. I'm not sure if he said this, but it kind of goes without saying that you could like share your cards, and then there's card removal effects and all sorts of advantages you have by playing like this. And just to explain horse really briefly is usually like there's a someone who's got money who will stake poker players to play usually on their site, and they get rake back off of them. And also it's usually like a 50-50 deal. It depends. Sometimes it's 80-20 where the player has to like pay it back if they lose it. So it's more of a loan.
Yeah, little
that's what this Martin Zamani guy is one of his many horses. And to get into this Bryn Kenney horse stable, you had to do all this weird, allegedly do all this weird frog poison ritual, psychic meeting, vegan diet, et cetera stuff. So I think that's kind of a good brief recap. If I missed anything, feel free.
Yeah, and if you're looking, someone was mentioning I definitely recommend Doug Polk's podcast interviewing Zamani, and then Bryn Kenney broke his silence, went on a Poker News podcast with Sarah Herring. Wasn't a very informative
he didn't say
interview.
Anything.
Yeah, and then Polk, this actually brought Joey Ingram back out of the woodwork. He had been gone for a while, not doing content, and then him and Polk kind of frisked the interview in a stream. So that will definitely get you caught up. Also, I did just go to Bryn Kenney's Instagram. I mean, this doesn't look like a guy who'd be trying to run a cult, right? Like, I'm not getting those vibes at all.
Oh, that's really funny.
This is like if I was doing a video and was trying to dress up and do a pose as a guy who wanted to be a cult leader, this is exactly what I would do.
Now, I think the another interesting element here is Bryn was, Brian, I think one of these guys that like didn't really like solvers that much, and was anti-solver, and was like, you know, one of those guys who would be at the table trying to like read you and be like, the old Negreanu, like, oh, I know you have ace king, but I call anyway, right? Like that. Yeah. That was, and he was, after the generation of card play, like I wouldn't really know him that well. There was this old. I listened to this poker show a lot during the pandemic, and they do like hand histories, and he was involved in a ton of them. What is your opinion of his skill as a poker player?
I think he was one of the best players back in the day, and he was on 2+2 a lot, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think he was always considered to be one of the top players. He played above my stakes, so I didn't play him a ton.
But to Davis's point, he is on the record saying like he has way more of a feel game to stuff, as opposed to talking about like all the, German, Scandinavian GTO bots out there and the high rollers now. Like that definitely wasn't his style. Yeah. Which I think,
people say this about Helmuth too, which is like, if that's the game you're playing, like you're playing these small field, mega high stakes, high rollers, $1 million, where the rake is really high, like, grinding out small edges and knowing like when to open with Jack 10 off, at the cutoff or what, like it's a different game, and there are different skill sets needed for live tournaments and things like that. Like Like people who know way more about cards than I do will still say like there's something to what Phil Hellmuth does that is way better than anything they can figure out, as evidenced by all the years and years and years of results, even if he is not playing in a GTO way at all.
Well, there's
I
one
think his
thing.
results in those 5Ks and stuff like that aren't that great from what I heard.
Yeah.
Like,
And Harbs is saying this, and I was listening to Sean Deeb talk on a podcast about kind of his opinion of Bryn as a player. And I actually think it's kind of analogous to Phil Hellmuth, and what they really do is, one, using RTAs, but two, being very game selection picky. And, Hellmuth crushes game selection, just plays with rich businessmen. It sounded like Bryn Kenney was doing tons of game selection, even in some of these high roller contests. Like, he would not sit unless there was, a perceived fish or two at the table, and that ultimately he probably wouldn't have been able to hang with all the GTO bots that fill it now.
Back in the day, anyway, you did not need it at all, like any of that stuff. Like, as long as you had half a brain, you could, and you had a rake back account, you could beat those early games. And it makes me think, like, maybe because there was so little cheating at the time, that's another reason why they were easier to beat. Obviously, no one had any clue what they were doing too. It was the early days, but like, no, I don't think anyone was cheating either. Like 2003, 4, 5, 6.
Well, yeah, the game, the survival conditions did not dictate it, right? Where just like anyone who was good could read their hands, knew what beat what, and I guess clicked the raise button a lot. Pretty much, you could win, and Black Friday happens, and then the whole cascading thing, and you got to move to Canada, or you got to move to Mexico, or you got to play a lot of live. And so the survival conditions of being and poker players are fucked anyways. Like all the weirdest people I know are card players, and it's not a healthy way to condition your brain. It's not a healthy way to live.
It's makes for some good scandals though. Way better than DFS scandals.
I was just gonna say, what would it take to have a scandal in DFS that would reach this level of like attention and mainstream attention?
Swapping after stats have been recorded. That's the only thing. Would be like if Osimo was moving in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. after he'd already hit a home run into his lineups. Is the only thing. And obviously
I think it would have to be employee related.
Probably.
An employee inside, just some huge scam screwing with people somehow, or just who knows, or maybe one of the stats providers.
Yeah, the E. Hafner from back when. I mean, that one went mainstream. And
wait, I don't remember that one. Would he hassle the stat provider?
No, sorry. The who was the DraftKings guy? Ethan. Sorry,
Ethan.
I was confusing Hafner with Ethan.
Accuses E-half of just blatant accusations on this.
Yeah, wow. Libel here on Lulz.
Oh my God.
You know what this reminds me of? I think kind of is not specifically Bryn, but just the evolution of poker is like Lance Armstrong. Remember when he first got busted? They had to go back, in time and look at the blood, and like they were trying to give that trophy to someone, and it had to be like, I don't remember, like the 23rd finished guy was the only one who wasn't doping.
He wasn't doping.
Yeah.
You remember that? And I can't like that's kind of how it is in poker. It feels like to me. I'm not in the game anymore, but like I imagine a lot of these guys have been doing it so long. Like you said, it's not like a healthy lifestyle, and they're just like, he's doing it, I'm gonna fucking do it. And they're just like, fuck it. This is what you do. This is how the game's played now. If you want to play poker, this is what you do. And they just don't give a fuck. And they brainwash themselves, similar to like Lance Armstrong too. If you listen to some of his interviews, he's kind of wacky.
Oh yeah, he's a certified weirdo. Yeah, I mean Barry Bonds too. Barry Bonds, weird guy. Like if you ever listen to
80s, early 90s baseball, because they're not doing steroids or something now. Yeah, right. But like certainly those guys back then were juicing. I bet a lot of them were juicing who really didn't even want to.
Oh yeah.
This is the best answer. This was the best scandal we ever had in DFS.
Oh yeah.
Except, I don't think this one is widespread. I don't think that many people know about it.
It was in it was like in the tabloids because of all the reality TV fans who were also interested. That's why it was able to transcend just like DFS.
You know what
now they've rebranded as NFT people.
Of course, everyone.
Well, now they got the money. You know what it says is how poor of a job the DFS space has done, like cultivating personalities. That we've complained about for a while now is, okay, Jade and Tanner were celebrities, so of course it's a big scandal, and if it wasn't them, no one would give a shit. And like, it's amazing that poker hasn't been legal in most states for over a decade, and then this stupid scandal comes out from a guy who was popular 10 years ago, and they get 100,000 hits. You know what I mean? Like, everyone wants to know about it. And there's,
no one cares about poker though, the way they did. Like my dad, my dad and I, so the first year they transitioned to the November 9, you could watch the hand histories on WorldSeriesOfPoker.com. Like, as it was happening, no audio, nothing, but like they would flip the cards, and we watched that. That's how into cards we were at the time. It was the year Joe Cata won.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was pretty fun. Everyone played poker back in the day.
Everyone played poker back then. The obvious difference is you can't watch people play DFS. You can't. There's no equivalent of seeing the cards get dealt out.
I'm not saying they could definitely do the same thing, and you're right that poker's not nearly as popular, which I think strengthens my argument that Joey Ingram's show would get whatever it's up to now, Pete, like probably 40,000 views or something.
Yeah, I showed Ryan this, that he posted a screenshot of his concurrence from his stream yesterday with Polk. They had over 4,000 people watching live. I mean, I'm trying to think what would need to take place in the DFS space to have 4,000 people watching a stream like that.
Jonathan Bale's doing push-ups is the answer. I think they had 8,000 concurrent viewers for Bale's push-ups.
And Bale's is popular. That's my point. Like,
yeah.
But do you see DraftKings like pumping him or trying to make another Bale's or anything like that?
Well, yes, they try, and who look, our friends over at DraftKings, everything you've ever done in content creating space has been bad, other than hiring Pat Mayo. Smartest thing they ever did was hire Pat. That's been huge for them. Like, for example, they own DFS Golf because of that, right? FanDuel could have caught up with them on that. But everything else they do with content, the blonde gal that's in the commercials, she's great, but the material they give her stinks. The content they do with the live final people, the Osimo, the GOAT, that stinks. No one cares. People. Hey,
we did 2 shows on Chasing the Goat.
I know, and it's content we all enjoy, but that's not mass media content. That is not content that 100,000 people care about. It's content that 2,500 people who are already in Pete's Discord love. They eat it up. They watched it 10 times. They made memes of it, and it all depends on your goals, right? 1,000 true fans, pretty valuable concept, but it's not going to have 100,000 people care.
There's also, we also have to recognize it's easier for poker to develop characters. They have a long history of televised games. Like, there's a built-in kind of system through the World Series of Poker, and
everyone knows the rules and plays cards.
Right. That said, I do agree with you. It means that DraftKings would need to overcompensate even more to tell these stories. And they just kind of waved the white flag on it from the beginning, it seems like.
If you look at the early, like 2000, 2001 poker viewers, there wasn't a whole ton. There wasn't a lot of entries into the main event. So, like, you got to start somewhere. And so, like, that's the thing. The Chasing the Goat was obviously, we thought it was hilarious, so we watched it. But, like, at least they're trying something. Yeah. And maybe you can't, I'm not saying recreate poker one for one, but who knows? Maybe they could come up with something. I think, like, even a scandal would be good at this point for DFS to, like, get some.
No, it wouldn't because
Get
of,
some eyes on it.
no, it wouldn't because of crooked Elizabeth Warren and because then you get on the wrong side of legislation.
This is also a good point of like thinking about poker content versus DFS content. The streamers and even the poker vlogs, the thing about poker vlogs, and I mean Brad Owens just has a fucking massive channel. Like people eat that kind of content up, and it's not specifically because of the poker, it's because it's a lifestyle aspirational thing. Yeah. And I do think there is some aspirational nature to being a pro DFS player, but it can't be glamorized in the same way a poker vlogger can. Like there's something about going to the strip and like sitting down and getting your racks and stuff where it's like if Brian shot a vlog of his day doing like it'd be very boring. Like no offense to Brian. It's not because Brian's boring. It's because there wouldn't be that much interesting stuff to actually show on screen. There's like inherent roadblocks with making DFS interesting for the masses.
You could make it up though. Like I said, put 3 guys in the same house.
DFS house. Kitchen's ears are ringing. He's about to like Kitchen's gonna send you a.
The problem, like I agree with you, Brian, and we've all brainstormed that idea. But the reason the poker vlogger works is because everyone's just grabbing their camera and they're like, I'll just film my hands and I'll show me going. Like it's so easy for people to show that. Whereas like DFS, like I feel like I maybe come like the closest of like trying to do that. Like Sunday morning, I'll tell you my plays. I go tilt it live on the tilt space and then I'll recap my decisions on Monday. And like, even that has like a ceiling, like it can't hold a candle to like an actual vlog style video.
Yeah. And the money's got to be more too. Like, the old high stakes poker and Doyle Brunson's just throwing in stacks of cash. The glamour aspect is really what gets people with cards.
Well, if you look at those Brad Owens and like I was watching somebody else too, they're playing 5-10. Like they're only taking like they have a big day. It's like $5,000 or something. Like DFS players
5-10
are gambling way more than poker players.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if someone was willing to sit down and do it with them, they could probably come up with something good. Poker's also like the easiest one to cheat at. Like I guarantee everyone's fucking cheating.
Brad Owens has 600,000 subscribers for poker vlogs. I mean,
I didn't even know who this guy was until right now.
Brad's an awesome dude. And he like, and I don't know, he might be even the first to admit it. Like he's never even really improved or upped his editing style. Like he just has his groove and he hammers it and people love it. It's just massive to see the ceiling for poker content. Like there's just no way a DFS channel could ever get to this level. I think it would be like impossible. Like I don't even know how you'd be able to do it.
Well, how long ago did he start doing this?
Not that long. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not that long ago. I mean, he was doing that. He had Andrew Nemi had more subs than him when I was doing like Man's Poker Tube videos. Because Andrew Nemi was the one who really, I think, popularized the poker vlog format. And he had more of like an aesthetic, cinematography kind of bent to his stuff, whereas Brad's just like, I'm just going to do hands in traditional style poker vlog. But to answer your question, I think like 5 years.
I mean, 5 years. What does he upload a video 5 times a week?
Yeah,
roughly.
No. I mean, it's more sporadic. 2 days ago, 9 days ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe one a week, one every 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think there's so much there. And Pete, you know this. I mean, there's just so much value in showing up every day, getting the content out, always something new. Like 5 years of pretty much nonstop content is super valuable.
Well, and that's a really good point too, because when someone comes to a Brad Owen video, they know exactly what they're getting, and there's a comfort food to that. There's a reason my channel doesn't do well and has plateaued. It's because the algorithm and people don't know what the hell they're going to get every single day. Like the topic and similar. I mean, you could say that's a bug and a feature similar to the Take Cast too, right, Davis? Like it's been like the same amount of subscribers for a year, basically, because
it's could be sports, it could be DFS. I actually, funnily enough, I was just looking at some of the episodes that have done the best yesterday, and they're ones that feel not that great to me at the time, which they're always DFS related. Pretty much always they're like theory shows with like Blender or something like that. And it's like, I mean, there are 1,000 of those out there, you know?
Well, that happens on my channel too. Like the really DFS specific stuff because that was where the core audience was built.
That's why people follow me on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah. And so then and it's this push pull, but I bet you and me feel similar in this regard. Like we don't burn out on making content because we always just do what's interesting to us and is fun to us, which isn't as good for building an audience, but by God, is it good for our mental health?
Yeah. And it's also, it's like, I don't need the Take Cast to have 600,000 subscribers to eat. If I did, if it was that situation for me, I mean, if I could start everything over again, if I could go back 10 years ago and start my whole career in this stuff over again, I would do an independent fantasy football podcast. I would do it 3 days a week. It would always be this, roughly the same amount of time. The theme song would never change. I'd have a rotating cast of guests, sometimes do it solo, probably like the Monday show in season would be solo. And then I would have a separate podcast to be about whatever, But
yeah,
but that is a regret for sure. Because I could be rich.
There needs to be some real IRL something. You know what? Another thing I noticed with some of these podcasts that are pretty successful is they have all the people on the show in the same room, live.
Yeah.
It seems like people enjoy that a lot more than this.
Are you? I think are you referencing
like the fantasy footballers?
Or like you're talking about like the Solve for Why podcast where there's
Solve
like
for Why, or just any big regular podcast, Joe Rogan, Timcast, blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's definitely an element to that. I mean, the first podcast I ever started doing was the Fantasy Football Comedy Hour. I shot that with all my friends in this office, and it was like there's something to being able to react to someone in real time and energy. A rapport that we come very close. I think in general, it's really nice and still blows my mind that we're able to do this kind of stuff just via the internet, but still it's hard to replicate IRL stuff.
My favorite show, my favorite podcast ever, they were in the same location. Now that I'm thinking about it, Coin Talk, they were in a basement. They were in a basement in New York. And I was thinking, like, is that true? And yeah, my favorite one ever. They're like buddies for a long time, and it was in person. You're right. I do think it does make a difference.
Yeah,
Mayo did that too for a while, right?
I don't listen to his one with Feinberg, but yeah, they do. I mean, and which is far and away their most successful show. I just don't give a shit about listening to NFL picks. I can make my own terrible picks against the spread, but that is his show that does do the best, and it is in person. With
Takecast and lulls, this is, I guess, same thing Pete was saying. Selfishly, I like when people talk about about a wide variety of topics. Like, I don't want to hear Joe Rogan just talk about MMA. You know what I mean? I don't listen to him a ton anymore, but
you listen to him for his thoughts on free speech and
don't derail this anecdote that Brian's getting at here.
Hopefully he brings Elon on.
Oh my God.
He's already had Elon on.
No, I know. I watched it. You don't think I watched that?
Yeah, 100 times.
Yeah, it's instead of reading more Mises, you don't have to read Mises anymore. You can just listen to Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan podcast, and that's all you need to do to have a good political education.
I wonder if he's ever read any Mises. He probably has.
I bet he fucking hasn't. Yeah. But I bet if you asked him, he would say he has.
What was the point you were making though?
Sorry.
Just that I enjoy that a wide variety of topics from. Like, I want to hear what X person has to say on a wide variety of topics.
I like the idea too, and this isn't to I'm not throwing shade at anyone else, I promise, but I like the idea that people vibe with me or want to come and see the things I'm interested in, or follow me on the things I want to dive into versus being like, I just want the information from you. Like I rarely get
I just want XFL picks.
Right. When are you going to give me the picks? When do you get like people don't come? Whereas if you pivot and you change to a different topic and everyone's like, I don't care, man. I just wanted the top DFS plays. Like that would be hard for me, but I feel like that dynamic happens.
That's a
like
job.
if Brad Owens started reviewing restaurants on his channel right now, would he have a core fans, of super fans who would be like, all right, man, I'll go along for the ride. Sure. But he would alienate 98% of his audience.
Work them in easy, work them in slowly. You go do a restaurant at the casino.
Yeah, at the Aria or whatever. Yeah. I think it's like, for me, it's 50-50, but I also like probably I'm in the upper 5th percentile, 95th percentile of like content consuming. And I prefer podcasts over YouTube, over TV. Like I listen to way more podcasts than I watch TV or whatever. And like some of them, I want a different topic every week because I like the vibe of the guys, right? Mm-hmm. Which is cool. And then some I'm like, I only care about, like I listen to like one about the soccer team that I'm a fan of. And if they just randomly one week were like, yeah, we know you only listen for the information about this soccer team you like, but we're actually going to talk about the city that the soccer team is in and the restaurants in the city, I'd be like, I'm out. I'm not.
We're going to talk about the French election like we just did. Like, I'm not listening to this.
Yeah. No, there are podcasts like that I listen to strictly for information. Like I'll listen to a TV, I'll listen to the Ringer podcast, and they'll review shows, and I want to hear what's going on and stuff. And if they just did a show about like what was going on in their life, I'd be like, I like you guys, but I listen to this podcast to get caught up on this news. But then there are podcasts where I have complete faith in them and enjoy them so much that I'd listen to them talk about anything.
Well, and there are podcasts that can change. Like I listen to a soccer podcast. It's just about like global, like all big game stuff, whatever's happening. And when I started listening to it, I couldn't have given a rat's ass about, these people's families or, any of their personal peccadillos. But I've been listening to the show for 6-7 years. So like when there's like an anecdote about like, my wife came home in the middle of the game, or, like just whatever it might be. It's like, oh, that's good color that I like. So I think it just depends on how much of a fan you are. Like Brad, like I bet 98% is too high. If Brad Owens started doing restaurant reviews, like I bet he'd keep 10 to 12% of them. But the other thing is, I bet he could charge them. I bet he could be like, you want my content? Patreon.com/Brad Owens. It's $50 a month. Are you coming? And I bet a lot of them would come.
Yeah. And it's not like that's just a very specific example. Like, and he wouldn't have to pick and choose. Like Brad could make Brad Owen restaurant reviews as a separate channel, and you could promote it on there. And the people who want to come over could, and the people who don't have to. And that's kind of the beauty of things. But it is an interesting thought experiment of, what people come to you for. It's
pretty awesome that I know Davis was blackpilled earlier with Elon, but it's pretty amazing time to live in where he can have a poker blog and make a living playing poker and talking about it on YouTube. And then if he wants to start a second channel about restaurants, he really theoretically could and make a living off of it. It's amazing. Like,
are you making the argument that there's not ever been a better time to be alive as a human because everyone has access to like microwavable food?
No, I'm making the argument that it's not as bad as it seems. Like, there's the world's pretty divided right now, but there is some amazing things from when I was younger that it just would never be possible. That you can act like, look at the three of us.
Well, would you take
all
would you take
three of
the
us
ability,
are prime examples?
Right,
yeah. Would you take the ability for like, a normal person working a normal job to ever be able to afford a home, or that Brad Owens can make a restaurant YouTube channel? Like, which of those is a bigger?
Those would have to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and it's worldwide too. There's a lot of people who aren't in poverty who were in the 80s. And we can keep talking about that, but I did want to talk about cheating in DFS. What do you guys think?
Sure, I'd love to cheat in DFS.
Okay, I know for sure someone is. No, I'm kidding. Do you guys think
for an hour 20 in the bombshell?
His name, Alex Baker. No. Do you guys think so? First of all, I always say if you're gambling, always protect yourself. You kind of just assume someone's trying to cheat you, right?
Yes.
And that's just good way if you're playing cards wherever and it's money that you don't want to lose. Just kind of always have that in the back of your mind. But do you think DFS is immune is too strong of a word, but the structure of it is where it's highly unlikely any sort of large scheme could be occurring. Now, obviously, we have the 3-man issue.
Yeah,
Cermak
and Redcoat cheat. Cermak and Redcoat cheat every day, every slate. No one does anything about it. They do.
He was just on Blender's podcast. He sounds like a real nice guy. I doubt he's cheating. And
okay, well, he is. Over an infinity amount of instances, he never has the same team as the other guy.
Is this a soccer dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I want to bring him on the pod, Pete. I was thinking about it.
Well, he's a
cheater on this pod.
No, because his explanation is fine. It's well, how could we cheat? We never have the same team. How could they be cheating?
Is that what he said? I can't even remember.
I mean, that's the only possible defense that they could ever have.
If you're an English guy and you're going to cheat with someone, probably tell the guy not to do the username breadcoat. Like it's kind of a giveaway, like. But leaving the 3-man issue aside, obviously it's not just those two that are getting accused. There's the Burrito brothers that people think is cheating, and I think kind of the consensus is that they're not cheating. They're just using the same system and entering in lineups. And then on Twitter years ago, I don't know if I want to say who it was, but someone told me that there's like a syndicate of like a team entering, 10, 20, 50, 150s together.
In what sport?
I don't remember. This is seriously 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
That's kind of the only one besides insider cheating. I don't know how they would do that, but someone who works for DraftKings or the scoring companies. The only thing I could see is a syndicate. You get like 50 or 100 accounts. Because like yesterday, I think there was like 50 max entered in NBA. I haven't looked.
Yeah.
And I know, like we personally know how many of those guys. So like it's probably not happening.
It would require a lot of wealth and a lot of coordination and a lot of because DraftKings and FanDuel, they do a good job of like KYC for withdrawals and deposits. Like even getting the amount of money you would need to continuously 150 and all that account, like that would be from all those different bank accounts and everything. It would just be a huge hassle. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty sophisticated operation to do that, or know someone who worked in a bank. I guess if you knew someone who worked in a bank and could just approve all the transactions and like have it set up so that do you see what I'm saying about getting the money in and out though?
Not that much. $15K per account.
You can't deposit $15K.
Because I can. Do you have to?
It depends. It depends on where you are in the country. Yeah. It depends on if you. Are we assuming these are brand new accounts or are these accounts that already have badges? Because I think brand new accounts can only deposit a max of $2,500, if I remember correctly.
It'd be tough. I mean, this is also where you have to work for sports betting, working as syndicate, all that stuff. They do it somehow there too. So somehow they could pull it off.
But there's like even like that would be like required. For sports betting, and those people are also just like more used to it. Like there's kind of this thing in the back of my head of like are people really going to put in all this work for like maybe making a couple $1 million? Like I don't know, and splitting it between. I mean, how many people would you like by your estimation? How many physical people would you need to pull this off?
I haven't thought it through.
I think minimum you'd need 10 people.
Oh yeah. Well, I would think way more than 10.
So that's a huge pain in the ass.
I was just going to ask you though, to even almost simplify this, like for you, Brian, how scalable would you consider your ROI edge? Like say that DraftKings took the 150 max limit off for you in any of these tournaments. how many lineups would you put in?
I don't know. That's a good question. Probably not a whole lot more. It would probably depend. Yeah.
Probably depend on the sport too, right?
Yeah, it depends on the sport, and also sometimes like my stuff sends out like this lineup's not positive ROI, and like there's no other lineups left, and maybe I shouldn't be putting in 150. So I guess that's possible. That's just there's not enough edge.
That's kind of what I was hinting at. Is I'm just like, I feel like I would go busto with this table of 10 even positive EV players.
2017 or something, you probably could have put like 1,000 entries in.
Yeah, like at a certain point, you're like literally just playing the lottery. Like I'd love to win. You know where it actually would make more sense is when they run remember when they ran like the $500 Millie Maker or the $888 Millie Maker or whatever? That's a spot where it would make more sense, where you could buy like a huge chunk of the pool and feel pretty good about having the winning lineup if you had, if you could get up to 20% of the pool or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the more I'm thinking about it, the more convinced I am that not even that's happening.
Cheating in DFS is. The thing that people used to say it was like sharing lineups, right? Like, oh, you have the same lineup in cash, which is like everyone does that now because you just can go to establishtheRun.com or dailyroto.com or rotogrinders.com and click optimize, and you're going to have the same lineup as everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to do like 450 entries and just don't overlap. Something like that. And then split it three ways.
I mean, people do
that. I bet people are doing that.
But yeah, and then you do come into bankroll issues, right? Because even with 450 entries, you could run cold and bleed, triple max entering a contest over a 2-month period of time. That wouldn't be an insane amount of time to go on a cold streak.
Yeah, assuming you'd have an edge.
Yeah.
If you have a big enough edge to pull something like this off, you'd probably be fine.
Yeah.
And that they wouldn't be doing it without a big bankroll either, you would think. But it might be immune.
That's what
I'm
kind of wondering.
I mean, the subtext of this conversation is like, how good could DraftKings infrastructure really be? Like, can't someone hack DraftKings? Seriously. I don't know. I don't know. Like, maybe it's not even a worthwhile thing because getting money off the site would be too hard. Like, if you're going to hack something, like, it would make more sense to just like hack the DraftKings player reserve or whatever. I don't know.
It would be like the Mike Postel equivalent of like someone hacked and was able to view like real-time ownership as like lineups are submitted before lock.
Something like that. Yeah.
No, and that's not even like that whole Ethan Gate thing. You can give that info out to people. They're not going to fucking know how to use it. And even if you do, it's not going to give you super big edge.
You're right. I mean, it was the USFL contest the first weekend. They flipped over the ownership.
And people didn't do shit with it.
No, it was like Sean Poindexter was 40% owned, and he came in at 40% owned. Like no one changed it.
I mean, there wasn't there some DFS site that was doing that as their bit?
I don't remember.
There was a DFS site. I remember because Crazy Gaby, who I think is probably maybe Brian's best friend that we don't know about, who like you guys would have been great pals.
Oh, I remember Crazy Gaby. Yeah,
I believe he was involved with the site that their bit was that they were going to show ownership in real time as it continued to, like, as people submitted lineups and clicked their players or whatever, it was going to show you, Ricky Seals Jones is 10% owned. Nope, now he's 11% owned or whatever.
You could cheat with a decent edge, even though it's not huge, with late swap and full knowledge from someone on the inside. So like if Davis is in first and I'm in second, I go, who's Davis got left? Okay, I can't play him, obviously, because I'm going to tie him.
Yeah, but you can pretty much, you could figure that out.
Either way, it's still helpful.
Like when when I'm playing against contests, like when I'm swapping into head-to-heads or whatever, like you can figure out who people have like a huge chunk of the time.
Yeah, you should be able to. But if you had to have the whole field too, you could do some stuff with that.
I mean, the ownership projections are so good now in the big sports, and NBA, NFL, and MLB. Ownership projections are so good. How much would knowing the actuals even do for you? I mean, people know, like the golf ownership projections are like the RSQ is like not like roughly like 90%. Like it's like unbelievable how good they are. Like having the real numbers isn't going to materially change that much for you.
No, it won't.
Yeah, maybe in like a smaller sport, like if you had the actual ownership in USFL, you could crush. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a little different just because of new sport, new sample size, like no information. But I mean, isn't with the ownership too? There's such a self-fulfilling prophecy with them. Not only are people looking at the projected ownership and making their decisions accordingly, but a lot of those ownerships are made from like baseline projections and seeing how frequently guys are appearing in lineups and then using that as the guardrails for determining how often people are actually going to play them. So it's like all the snake eating its own tail.
Yeah.
Maybe in MMA, I'm still trying to think, what's the best way to cheat? Maybe in MMA, because of the binary output.
Couldn't if you were rich enough, couldn't you just pay guys off? Like how much does a low level MMA guy make per year?
There you go. That's a good one.
That's probably the best angle.
Yep.
Or what about like a shitty 28-year-old pitcher, right? Like the worst guy who's going to start a game for the Boston Red Sox this year. What if you tell him, buddy, you just throw the easiest, straightest fastballs of your life to Bo Bichette when you face him, and I'll give you $100K in Bitcoin.
We already have
that doesn't help you enough DFS though for that payoff.
Brian, we have the example. It's the titular show. It's the League of Legends. Those guys were dated up. Yeah, they were throwing stuff for side action.
I mean, the COVID times, the Outlaw Tour, I don't think anyone did, but you could have. The guys who were winning the Outlaw Tour GPPs were making more than the winner of the tournament.
They sure were.
Yeah, so I honestly hope someone contacted Joseph Bramlett and tried to get him to cheat. I don't think anyone did, but they should have.
Who was our guy, Pete? I already forgot again. Here's another one too, obviously, MMA refs.
I mean, that's okay. So that's the rabbit hole. Referees are the rabbit hole because we have instances of every major sport of referees having been bribed at one point or the other. I mean, in soccer, it is like accepted that until recently, maybe until like, let's say 15 years ago, it was just sort of accepted that in big international matches, referees were going to be attempted to be bribed by one party or the other. I mean, there were, the former Yugoslavia, it was just a matter of like historical record that they would pay refs off. It happened in Brazil, happened in Argentina. I mean, how much does a home plate umpire make?
I think they make a couple $100,000 at least now, right?
So does $10,000 in Bitcoin to squeeze Zach Wheeler? Does that move the needle for him?
Probably not.
It's tough too because
you'd have to threaten violence, I think, in the major sports.
I mean, I play like every MLB contest on DraftKings, and I'm not giving them $10K for my number one pitcher. Like it's not.
Well, no, it would be the opposite. It would be you lock in him being bad, and all of your opponents using him, and you use none of it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's worth $10K in equity. Maybe, maybe.
I mean, it is another sport where it is conclusively proven that the distribution of results in tennis cannot be real. That like tennis, outside of let's say that the best 50 players in the world, there is rampant cheating and match fixing in tennis. And if you got plugged into that network for some of these off events, obviously not any of the majors but when they are playing via, the ATP Puerto Rico or whatever, you could make money that way.
I mean, in DFS is still, though, really resilient against this stuff, because even if you get the underdog MMA fighter who puts up a big score and then a guy throwing, like, you still got to hit the rest of your 5-6 leg parlay. Like, it's no lock on your investment.
What we're saying is that DFS is the perfect game and that humanity should stop creating new games because it's unbeatable.
There should be DFS vloggers who make it really sexy.
Yeah.
If you can get this referee right for 10K, you'd be a fool not to like DM some of these sports betting guys. You'd be like, look, I got a guy on the hook. Let's put millions on this. You know what I mean? You would just totally forget about DFS.
Right. That's what I'm saying. With sports betting, it's so easy because
if you're getting to the level of bribing refs, you'd be much better off just placing the wager on the game.
Yeah. Yeah, DFS there's no possible way you could be cheated. Like, flash forward to next week, cheating scandal in DFS.
I mean, the way you could do it would be, I've harassed stat providers before. The guys that do stats for soccer, I have confronted them on Twitter before because they got something wrong.
Because the MMA strikes and significant strikes. It's like, is that really a significant strike? Is that really?
Well, yeah, that's how the pros do it. Your boy, we call him Buddy. Doesn't he always complain? Like, are people always saying that the significant strikes are fixed or whatever?
They can be pretty random, it seems like, and then they'll readjust after the fight and they'll be over or under. I'm like overall kind of fine with it, but it seems a little subjective.
Yeah. I mean, the big takeaway is it's almost impossible for a level of scandal on the poker level to happen in DFS. Yeah. It just, there's too many roadblocks for it. That Jade and Tanner might be the pinnacle. Yeah. And
until someone does it again.
And it wasn't
popular. Has to happen on a 2-game slate where it can kind of seem like it matters,
And that's the thing. What they did isn't that in a vacuum, isn't that scandalous relative to some other stuff that's happened in DFS, but to have that level of notoriety of, probably the most mainstream recognized name that could win a tournament, like everyone in America knows these Bachelor contestants from reality TV and tabloids.
Some people probably knew the girl's Playboy video.
That's true, Davis.
Oh no,
not me.
Not me. Never once.
That was some of the time I was most excited making content. Like the fallout of that scandal, like doing bits and making some videos and stuff. I mean, I felt like this giddiness inside me that I don't know the last time I felt it.
Do you know that before it was realized that, before it came out that it was a scandal, I was gonna do a take cast with them. I was emailing their agent that night.
Because you just knew it would be entertaining.
It would just be good content. It would just get clicks regardless. And then their publicist or agent or whatever never emailed me back after the next morning after it became clear.
Wait, did you put the request out to Jade or both Jade and Tanner?
Both.
Why both? We didn't know that Tanner was even involved yet.
Davis was involved.
I think it was Wiggins who told me that.
Oh, so you had the scoop?
Well, now I don't remember.
Wiggins was also involved? Write this down, Pete.
What I'm hearing is Davis was incredibly sexist. He didn't think there was any way Jade could have won this on her own, and he wanted to bring both of them on.
I don't know. I just remember that I followed both of them on Twitter, and then they both went private immediately after. But I was still following them while they were private, which I always thought, I was like, that's weird. Why? I don't know. That was such a weird moment in time. Was that pre or post COVID?
That was pre-COVID.
There was some fallout for Pete, though. He got blocked. Got blocked from all that.
I think I was blocked by Tanner for a while, and then he unblocked me.
No, Randone blocked you
But-
over too many jokes.
Yeah, then Randone.
Oh man, what's Randone up to these days? Are any of us
Me-
unblocked?
I can't say.
I am.
Brian, I think, has stayed in his good graces.
Oh man.
You know what was so funny on the Randone thing? Davis, you'll love this. There was some tweet people were sharing, and I wanted to see it, so I was like, all right, I'll log into the Club Top Shot account to look at this Randone tweet. He had blocked that account too.
Well, you probably mocked him on Club Top Shot.
I'm sure I did.
Feels like Settlement and Randone could get along. Feels like they would have something to bond over.
Oh my
I
god!
can see that
Didn't Randone do an NFT that was a rug?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Crypto Rangers, the
yeah.
Power Ranger, and then they rebranded as the DeFi Rangers.
Why haven't we done a rug yet? It feels like a very easy way to make like $1 million.
That's
David.
been my childhood dream.
If you would have spun it up,
6 months
in the heat
ago.
of NFT summer,
Yeah.
you could have sold out a project.
Yeah. You live and you learn. NFTs are fucking stupid, really.
Do you think if I asked Elon to get Vegas Dave to unblock me, he'd do it?
Well, it's I mean, you saw Elon's tweet the other day. Blocking is a violation of free speech, right?
Really?
No, I think I made that up. But
No.
I mean, if you really want to have free speech, I mean, everyone needs to be able to like read what you say. It should be a violation of Elon's free speech rules.
That's great logic, Davis. Well done.
I mean, everyone has the right to read what I have to say.
I think if Elon cares about free speech, he'll force Randone to unblock me in free Randone speech for me. And I think it's unfair that it's sequestered away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Randone and Vegas Dave. Everyone else.
Blocking is extrajudicial, Brian, because there's no blocking. The forefathers could have never imagined blocking.
Do you think? Okay, a little like informal Laden thinks. How many people do you think Elon Musk has blocked on Twitter? How many people do you think he's muted on Twitter?
Muted 0. Blocks a lot. I don't know.
I'd say muted probably in the hundreds. Blocked, yeah, probably thousands.
Because I do feel like it's either a really low number or an extremely high number. Like once you work the block muscle, I assume you're just blocking left and right.
I mean, yeah, I have like 7,000 blocked accounts.
I mentioned he has muted Davis because I bet he has like a lot of relationships, and then he can't just like block somebody, but he's like, oh my god, this person's annoying, and he just mutes them instead. Like.
Yeah, this person just got vaccinated for the novel coronavirus. Mute. Can't have that. Elon,
he's never said anything on that.
No, that's not true, dude. Elon was the very first COVID is like just the flu famous guy. On like March 15th. He was
how often did he turn out to be?
Like the night after.
like literally after the Rudy Gobert thing. Like he was like one of the first people.
Yeah, this is a good point. People would be screenshotting the Elon Musk blocked me, and
this is a great point from this guy, from Reshi.
And I wonder too. I mean, his Twitter replies are just so insane that I don't even think it'd be tenable to block, because it would be fucking whack-a-mole.
Except he just responds to people all the time. The biggest thing that I don't respect about Elon Musk, and there are many things I don't respect about him, but the biggest thing is that if I was that rich, why I would not even have a cell phone. What am I on? Twitter is for people like me who have a huge void in their lives because they want to be in a better station in life than they are. Twitter is not for someone who can do whatever they want whenever they want. Like when you already have the life you want, there is no reason to be on Twitter.
No. Well, okay, I agree with you, but the reason is because once you're at that level of success, all you care about is ego and attention and legacy.
That's all that matters is what people think of him. That's the only thing that matters to him.
Unless you're thinking charitably, and he actually wants to have a town square that has some free.
You don't even believe that. I don't even believe that you believe that, Brian. That is the most earnest, like 1884 fucking Huck Finn ass reading of a human being I could ever imagine. I mean, that is like out of a Norman Rockwell painting. What you just said.
I'm gonna get one of those Elon halo pictures. Elon with a halo. I'm gonna put that right behind here.
Yeah.
I just think you're doing a bit, because I don't think anyone actually believes that.
No, of course there's more motivations than that, but I think part of it is that
a real libertarian would know that anyone with that much power and wealth is not a friend of the common man.
You're gonna tell me what a real libertarian thinks?
He's a technocrat. His power is just as centralized and shitty as the Democratic parties.
I don't know about that, but I'm sure he is doing it for other reasons too. But I think, like, probabilistically, I think there's a solid chance one of the reasons is because he actually has some like autistic bug up his ass about people getting blocked.
Yeah, I frequently make $44 billion decisions based off of my ideological values.
He's clearly not a normal human being, right?
But
so,
Davis, someone should probably do the math, but my guess
it's like nothing.
It'd be like you spending like $10,000.
It's like nothing.
It's like
to him.
it's a decent amount of money, but like
he took out a loan. He took out a loan too, I believe, too. So I doubt it's actual cash. Have you guys seen all these like right-wing accounts that are getting like 50, 100,000 followers magically in the last day?
Yep, and the like Democratic senators' accounts are getting, like, all the bots that follow them are getting deleted.
Yeah, but there are not many of them. There's like
it's like just AOC and
like 20,000. Where like Marjorie Green Taylor or whatever her name is, she like had 100,000 added in one day.
That's wild.
Probably good. It's probably a good sign for our democracy, in my opinion.
They're claiming it's because they were blocking.
They were shadow banned, dude. The algorithm, bro. The algorithm is notoriously, the algorithm it loves leftist policies, as you know.
I will hopefully that's one thing I definitely want is this fucking stupid what's happening on the right hand side.
Yeah, it sucks.
Please be something else. Like, I don't care about this garbage they put up there constantly. I don't know what they're trying to do.
I've never clicked one of those topics.
It's so bad, and it is majority left wing, Davis. Especially if there's an algorithm. Like, for me, it should be saying like all the stupid.
Yeah, the algorithm is left wing, and that's why there's always such a popular groundswell in the United States for left wing politicians. It's I think it's very explainable right now why really all over the world, there are big groundswells for left wing politicians as driven by the algorithm.
Be honest about your guys' experience with the algorithm, because I could not parse a single political agenda in mine. The algorithm has gotten very good in what, like, the topics I see. Like, I only see DFS, NFT stuff. I didn't even see a ton of the poker stuff, even though I follow those guys, because I haven't interacted with any poker people or even fave tweets. Like, they weren't showing me. I missed a ton of like the Bryn Kenney stuff. Like, I feel like the algo is like really
my algo doesn't understand me because I follow all these Bitcoin people. So I actually get way more right-wing political stuff than left-wing stuff because I follow Pierre Rochard and all of these people who have just these just insane, like, big Bitcoin tweets have gone beyond parody. Like, I've been seeing stuff recently that I was like, someone should just do like a pastiche of these, because these people have like lost the plot does not even define where these people are at mentally.
I had this one Harbs just said. I had that exact one. It's one of the ones I was talking about. It's like, why do you think this is something I'm interested in?
What'd you get?
Pete, you want to highlight Harbs' comment there? Yeah.
Kim Kardashian rants at fans over dumb claims she photoshopped.
Yeah, like that's why I don't think this algorithm is that sophisticated, because I got this one too, and it's like they're just pushing some news stuff.
Well, my take is this, at least just from my personal experience, the home feed algorithm is pretty dialed in. The what's happening algorithm has to be a separate algorithm that's not actually catered to your
The
interest.
home feed one, I feel like there's guys I follow and then I like never see them, never see their tweets for some reason.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you guys? Do you ever like, oh man, I used to follow that guy. Why haven't I ever seen one of his tweets?
I had that.
Yeah.
I went like a year without seeing a PFT commenter tweet where I was like, I used to see his tweets all the time. And then I was like, what happened to that guy?
It's so weird.
Yeah.
I think he could, like, leaving Elon aside, it does feel like they were leaving a lot of meat on the bone, a lot of like things they could do to make money for Twitter and to make the experience a little bit better. Like, it seems like they were kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's really at the end of the day, the biggest thing is that like the people running Twitter were not doing that good of a job to begin with, and it's not as if the people running Twitter, as I said, are left-leaning politically. Jack actually was, and he left because it was becoming a politically untenable environment for him. Like it's not as if things are really going to change all that much, or that the people running the organization are all that different.
What I would really like personally as a Twitter user would be an interval-based digest that I could say if I wanted the digest every 6 hours, 12 hours, and it looked at people I followed and it showed the tweets that had the most likes or comments or interactions. It used like a Venn diagram to see people I followed were all talking in this same thread about a topic, and then presented that to me as these were the most popular tweets, the hottest conversations within your specific set. And then I would never have to go on Twitter. I could just log in, see what the conversations are, decide if I want to opt into that conversation or not, and then move on with my life. Like that would be perfect for me.
That's like how that one site does PGA ownership, right? Davis, what's that called? They take all the chatter. Fan
share.
Fan share.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. That would make content creating a lot easier too, Pete. Like, okay, what's the thing to make the joke about today? Right? Okay, frog poison, obviously, or whatever. It just tells you.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would love, and I think I've said this on Lulz, and I bet Davis feels similarly, there's a lot of tweets that I don't make because they feel so hyper niche that I'm like, whatever, so I'll do them in a Discord thread or whatever. Like, for example, I had lots of Moonbird jokes over the past week, and I made them all in a thread within a gated Discord channel because that was the audience for that. But if I could tag a tweet as like NFT or Moonbirds, and then people could decide to opt in to
they've created that. They created that like 2 weeks ago.
Well, I haven't seen it in my functionality.
It's called communities. So when I go to tweet, I can choose between I can tweet to everyone or I can just tweet to my community. See?
But you have to
see right there. So I can tweet to
communities.
I can tweet to everyone, or I can tweet to the 56 people who are a member of the Sports Grid community. I think it's a beta feature, but again, and it might only be Twitter Blue. But again, you can already do a lot of these things, and Elon doesn't change shit. The other thing is, Pete, I do that, but I just delete them. So what I'll do is I'll fire off my niche tweet. I'll let it sit up there for like an hour. I can have a little bit of discourse if anyone wants to interact with like my soccer tweet or whatever. And then I just comb through and I just delete all the tweets that don't get enough interactions.
But like, it would be nice, like if I could go to the Davis Maddock profile and I saw like all these like topics, like crypto,
NFTs, DFS.
And like I would unselect soccer because I do not care about your soccer stuff. And like I would pick and choose, and then I would keep like 80% of them, and then like the 2 random topics that you're into that I don't care about. And then you can blast off as much as you want, and your unfollow rate would probably remain, and mute rate would stay incredibly low because people are only opting into the kind of conversations they want to hear.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
guys
interesting.
think yes or no on Elon's promises here? Making the algorithm open source. Does he do that? Yes or no? No, Pete? What do you think?
Open source? I think so, because that's been like one of the main things he's been campaigning around with this.
Try to defeat the spam bots. Do you think he cares? Do you think he's going to try that? Yes or no?
Yeah, dude. Didn't you hear Michael Saylor? Everyone's gonna have to deposit 10 satoshis, and that'll solve. Bitcoin solves this, and that.
Well, of course, Bitcoin's going to solve all this, whether Elon's around or not. And
This idea. I actually think that is reality. I think he will do that because it's not a very hard problem to solve, and it should be solved.
Okay, I think so as well. Authenticating all humans. Now, leaving aside the biometric data he's planning on stealing and ruling the world with, let's say a good faith effort at authenticating humans. Yes or no?
No.
No? You think he's going to authenticate people?
It's a lot of hard work. Yeah, that's
what I was gonna
manual
say,
labor.
Like some of the stuff with the spam, like these are messy things. Like email hasn't even figured out how to handle spam. Like, yeah. I mean, that's been around forever.
Well, that's because email hasn't fully integrated Bitcoin as a layer 1 protocol. And if we could just email on Bitcoin, there'd be no spam.
Okay, how about like in a reasonable assumption of content from both sides? So, whatever. I don't know, Davis the Hill, Jimmy Dore, kind of farther left people, and then on your right side, up to even Alex Jones. Do you think he allows all these people back on, say what they want, or no?
Yes. Yeah. There'll be Alex Jones, the lizard people, threatening violence against political figures, all that. It'll all be good to go.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the
that's
part.
That's like the thing that
fun with.
Yeah, that makes it move for him. Like knowing that people are triggered that he's getting Donald. Like I feel he's just a troll. Like it he gets sexually excited knowing that people are mad at him about letting Donald Trump back on the platform.
And do you consider that a form of free speech or no?
Sure, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, because I think the argument, the fairest argument is not free speech because these people use the platform to hurt people.
Hey, man, it's like Twitter's like a private company, and if you break the terms of service, you have to get off. Like, even the Kremlin, they follow the terms of service. They still have an account. Donald Trump broke the terms of service. It's a private company, man.
It's real private now.
Sorry, I got distracted because I took Lou's suggestion and I made a Deposit Kingdom Twitter community so I can figure out how this shit works.
Now the Democrats, if you haven't seen it already, they will immediately switch to the Republicans' argument of they need to get rid of Section 230.
I don't even know what that is.
That was the Republicans. They wanted to use that as it's what like defines them as a publisher versus like anyone could say whatever they want on it or be held liable. So they were going to try to use it so you couldn't ban, whatever right-wing people.
Sure.
But as soon as Elon got it, they totally shut the fuck up about that.
Yes, because at the end of the day, no one cares about being right or wrong. They only care about their side. That's it. That's all that ever matters.
But honestly, that is the GTO strategy to achieving political power.
Yes.
So it's like playing one card at the World Series of Poker for moral reasons. The final tables can be full of everyone who plays two cards. Like even if you believe morally one is the only way you should do it, well, good luck. The people with the power are going to be the ones playing the game properly.
Hey, I agree with you. I tried to cheat DFS with you earlier too.
No, we figured out that it wouldn't work. Oh my goodness!
All right, guys, we gotta wrap this up because I gotta go skateboarding with my friends and feed my dogs.
Yeah,
some of us have DFS to play.
I did my 15 minutes of figuring out who's going to be chalk during the show, and I'm just not playing those guys who project to be chalk.
Don't even need to see the lineups come in.
They're already in, buddy. It's 5 o'clock Central Time. Everyone's in.
All right, sweet.
Davis, anything else coming up on your radar? Do you have any other plans for the draft? You're more than welcome to swing by the ship chasing live hang tomorrow. By the way.
I'm hopping on 4for4s. I'm hopping on Underdog. I might as well hop on with you guys too, and I'll be doing. We're doing the Swolecast on Friday. We'll be doing we're the only site doing a first round recap of how it impacts your fantasy teams in 2022. The only DFS show giving you first round reactions.
This is how you promote the Swolecast on Friday. Kitchen wants to try out a new streaming software for it. So if you want to come watch a trade wreck in real time, come watch.
It's gonna be a thing.
Brian, anything on your end?
No, I did PJ ownership. There's going to be roughly 800% of John Rahm based on my figures. He's going to be super high owned. I have some big updates on my app actually coming in, hopefully pretty soon.
Are these ones I kind of know
make
about?
best ball life easier.
There we go.
You can click on Mozilla now just from the Mozilla store too. You don't need to do any of that install shit.
Yeah.
So it's on my
coming
site
at
now.
a new time. Underdog's gonna be launching their big new contest on Monday. I assume the action is gonna be pretty good there right out of the gate. It's gonna be fun.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So for me, tomorrow night, we're no ship chasing tonight because we're bumping it to tomorrow night to do a live draft stream, have a bunch of guests. It's a collab with RotoViz. So we're going to have Sean Siegel on, some other RotoViz guys. Anthony Amico is going to be on. He's been crushing the prop bet stuff. So it'll be a very fun show tomorrow night if you want to tune in for that. And then, Swolecast recap on Friday. And then I have Splash Play with Spags on Friday as well. I think that is it for me. This was fun. Davis, we'll have to do some more of these Lowell's crossover TakeCast crossovers.
Love Brick 75. Always have. Love Lowell's.
Even when he's being disingenuous about Elon Musk.
You know, didn't I come on episode 100? I feel like I've been on before.
I feel like that too when he said that. I can't remember.
I couldn't remember either.
I just got a memory that I think I came on episode 100. In fact, I'm willing to say I did. Let's do a quick Lowell's episode 100 YouTube.
Although Lowell's episode 100 is actually
if I was labeling things back then, you're probably not going to get much out of it.
No. We can look. I'll get on Etherscan later and figure it out. But I'm pretty sure I was on episode 100.
This is how the only way I can track stuff now is my thumbnails
folder.
For sure. Yeah. That's where I can. So this I started doing thumbnails episode 143. So no record.
I literally just did like Lowell's 114. That's it.
Yeah. Yes.
No wonder we didn't get anyone while listening to the show.
No. It took Chess's okay going bang bang on everyone for us to find a bigger audience. Classic. All right, guys, this is fun. 2-hour marathon Lowell stream on a Wednesday afternoon. You love to see it. Have a good week. We'll see you guys next time.